here as well. All right, there we go. We should be recording now. All right. All right, guys. Welcome. We've got a big week here this week in terms of taking a look at design concepts. Like all of our critiques that we've done over the course of the semester, it's going to move pretty rapid fire. This one is particularly challenging in that we've got 3 concepts to look at for each of you guys. In order to facilitate moving along with these and really focusing our energy and attention as effectively as possible, what I'm going to ask you guys as we open up your concepts, we'll certainly we'll look at all 3. But I would love to hear from you in terms of if you are leaning towards a particular one of your concepts, just so that I'm not necessarily spending a lot of extra time talking about an interface that you don't necessarily think you want to work with. Okay? So that will typically be the first question that I ask of each of you guys. I do have the Google Drive open already. We're going to very much just kind of run through them in alphabetical order, or at least I shouldn't say alphabetical, but in the order that they're sitting in the drive. And yeah, I am hoping very much to be able to get through all of these in the allotted time that we have here today. Just for clarification, in terms of what you guys will be working on between this week and next week, you guys will be revising one of the 3 home pages. So the goal here today really is to pick one of these that you'll move forward with. In addition to revising that homepage concept, you will then be designing the subpage designs very much like you did this week. Now, you'll only be doing one set of them based on the one homepage that we pick. Okay, so just to reiterate, you are not designing 3 of each of your subpages. You're just designing one. That's kind of the point here today, is to pick a look and then to apply that to the remaining subpages. Okay, so we'll be looking at those subpages next week. But yeah, that's sort of the big picture. So for those of you guys who are reviewing this video at a later time, I wanted to talk about that first rather than last, so that you didn't have to necessarily sit through the whole video to review what my expectations are for next week. So again, for next week, you're simply taking the one homepage that we choose here today. You're revising it based on any feedback that I give you, and then you are going to design out the remaining subpages. Again, that's just in Photoshop or Illustrator. Nothing is going to be coded at this point. After next week, then we do finally start coding the homepage and subpages. All right, so we've got our work cut out for us today in terms of critiquing these. Jennifer, you had your page in there first, so I'm going to begin here with yours. I did very, very briefly get a chance to look at these right before I launched the Zoom meeting. So I do have at least an idea of what these look like. I'll scroll through these though real quick for you guys to be able to see them as well. Again, very much like the previous classes, guys, I definitely encourage you guys to provide feedback to each other. You can certainly do that in the chat area of our Zoom meeting. For the most part, looking at these, it more or less looks like a change of color scheme that we're dealing with in terms of these. There might be, are the headers different? Headers look the same to me. Is that Monstrat, Jennifer, that you're using for?
The second one? Yeah, I didn't really change that much except for the fonts and the colors. And the only reason I chose orange is because it's the university that's at the bottom of the mountain. Gotcha. Boise University is, so there's a lot of those colors in that town.
Yeah, cool. I actually really like the orange. I really like the orange. I think it provides a nice pop and a nice complementary color to the blue.
Okay.
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I really don't like it.
Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, which one are you leaning towards?
Well, I really like the first one, but maybe I need to get out of my comfort zone and maybe do something a little different.
I mean, I will say about the first one, it's very monochromatic.
And I like the blue one too.
Yeah, because what's that, Chaz?
I like the blue one too. I think that's probably my favorite one.
This one up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely appreciate that. So here's what I will say about this one. The reason why I was leaning more towards the orange, but that's not saying, Jennifer, that you have to go with the orange, because we can maybe make
Right.
some corrections here. Right now, everything is blue.
Yes.
Because of that, nothing really stands out at all. You know, in the font for the links is different than the body copy, but it's still blue. So there's nothing really calling to my attention. You know,
Okay.
a lot of the images have a lot of blue or white in them as well. They don't particularly pop off the page.
Okay.
The call to action icons, all blue. You know, they're all very much, it's all, you know, even like the headers, the text. So there is a
Everything's
lot of blue. Yeah, everything very much is blue. Now, I think if we were to inject this with perhaps a second color, doesn't have to be orange by any means, but the reason, you know, especially if orange is something that's really not working for you, don't go with that color. Pick another color. But you know, the images certainly pop off of the orange.
Yeah.
The, you know, small things like, you know, if the entertainment background was also orange, or again, supplement that with another color. Does not by any means have to be orange. Could be green, you know, could be something to kind of counterbalance. You've got the blue. It would be nice if maybe we had another color from perhaps another season, you know.
Okay.
So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend, is that we inject another color in here.
Okay.
In terms of the typefaces, I tend to lean towards either the second one with Montserrat. Now, I'm
Yeah.
biased. Montserrat's one of my favorite fonts. I use it all the time.
I know.
I also very much like Helvetica, although I don't know that Helvetica is a web safe font. I don't think it's available by default on PCs. We can look that up and find it out. But Montserrat certainly is. It's a Google font. It's nice. It's clean. There was a time I really used to very much love Impact. I used to use it a lot. And I don't know, I see that now and I just think meme, because, like, you know, it's the
Yeah.
font on every meme. So
I
I
actually I was actually thinking of that choose your own adventure, to work it somehow into the image instead.
Gotcha.
So and I do like the second one. I do like the font in the second one, the orange one that you're on right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with those fonts, I believe.
Okay.
So I can change impact. It was just a block text that was working at the time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy that you use that to compare and contrast. Because I mean, it is nice. And if you are leaning maybe towards that sort of a style, I think maybe we could find a condensed heavy sans serif font.
Okay.
Again, I tend to be biased towards this font. It just works well. But
Even in the little call to action buttons right there, like, you know, the bike and stuff, I do like the Montserrat or whatever it's called, way better there as well.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, this is one I like. When I look at this one, I don't like the way that the text overlaps. It's too condensed. There's not enough space. It's a little bit difficult to read. This one, though, I have no issues at all with the readability of that. I like those quite a bit. So I think your mission between now and next week is to inject a second color, something that, again, perhaps is not orange. In fact, start with this one and just change that orange color to, you know, sort of a soft green. See what that does. It may not work for you at all, but I think it's a nice starting point. I would then maybe consider, and that might be all you need to do. That might be it, but maybe then start to kind of play and see what happens if maybe you bring that color into the background of the rounded rectangles. That might be too much. I mean, I really don't mind that that these are both blue, because you're establishing a strong hierarchy here. You know, all caps, heavier font, surrounded by a rectangle, versus this has none of those things. So that works. Versus up here, just everything being blue, there's just not much pop.
Well, I was thinking those were my buttons.
Sure. No, I think so. I definitely think that those come off as buttons to me. It feels like a clickable object. I think the only other thing I would suggest is perhaps considering aligning your links with the bogus logo over here, wherein they align at the top, and perhaps they align at the bottom. But it is looking, it's looking good. Let's see here. Yeah, I think you're looking good. Perhaps if this is the link to take us to the contact page, I would say maybe consider, at the very least, like I don't know if this is obviously this is a little bit different than dealing with a real company. If this were a real company, I would say probably have at least a phone number or email address down here. So I
Okay,
don't
yeah.
click there. But obviously you guys are dealing with, fictitious clients here at this point. So actually, I think this is okay.
Yeah, and no, I didn't really put anything in the footer I just threw like just a little bogus, but
Yeah.
they have like fun stuff like, totally bogus and all that kind of stuff. I probably will
cool.
change that up and then put
Yeah.
in like, address and all that stuff.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
kind of forgot that, sorry.
No worries. No worries. Give that a look, certainly. But fairly minimal revisions on this, which is awesome. I think your biggest
Okay.
thing is to try and identify a secondary color.
Okay, color.
Yeah.
Got it. All
Which
right.
again, start with this one, the orange one, and just start
Yeah.
by just supplementing different colors in here and see how you feel about it. Okay.
Okay,
Um,
that's
yeah,
easy enough.
Yep, absolutely. All
Okay.
right.
Sounds great. Thank you.
No problem. All right, let's see here. Kyle, I'm going to jump into your folder here next. Kyle, how about yourself? Are you leaning towards one maybe more than the others at this point?
Maybe I'm kind of like considering maybe like blending certain elements from different designs into one.
Okay.
I'm trying to maybe streamline it.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to kind of cycle through these real quick. We'll get an idea of what's going on with these. Okay, cool. So let's see here. In terms of my thoughts on these, I do feel like one of the things that no matter which of these that you work with, that I think that we have to address is that your background color on all three is a very, very rich and saturated color. And the issue that we face with that is that it will pop forward more so than images typically will. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these images, especially where there's some light things, this definitely holds its own against the background. But that background is coming forward visually much more than like this image is. It really competes with this image as well in terms of, same thing here. This is a really, really rich background color. Although I do feel like this is probably my favorite background color of the group. This one's not bad, but I would, if you went with this background color, I would definitely go with white copy. Let's see here. Yeah, I think all in all, in terms of color, I feel like this is my favorite of the batch. Because even though this is a rich, like sort of purple, it's dark enough that the images still hold their own. The yellow buttons hold their own against that as well. And certainly the white body copy, I think, works really well there. In the actual site, I definitely recommend that like the paragraphs are allowed to extend the same width as the images above them. And that's an easy thing that we can adjust in the CSS. Let me take a look at these logos, because I do think you have different logos, or at least different fonts on all these. I prefer this one right here compared to the others, at least in terms of the typefaces. Yeah, I would bring this one on into this one. Now, you may have to tweak color because obviously we're putting, more yellow and purple on top of a very yellow and purple interface. And clearly this logo's got some nice pop with these colors. But I don't know, bring it over and see what it looks like. We're going to want to figure out like what's actually going to happen in the hero banner. Kyle, is the intent there that there'll be an image in that area, or is it just going to remain a yellow bar with some text overlay?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe it's just like serves as a sort of introduction, if it for the homepage, like sort of an introduction to the website, and then I kind of take it from there.
Okay, cool. So yeah, think about then over the course of between now and next week, I'd love to see in your revised design what it's going to actually say there, just so I can give you some feedback on that as well. But things are looking good. I think that otherwise, just small suggestions. I feel like we definitely need a little bit more space between the bottom of this paragraph and the top of these buttons here, especially because there's a good amount of space underneath them. There's, comfortable amount of space here. So probably a good 10 pixels worth of space between these buttons and the top of the image. Again, that's, in doing that, I would also bump down the images underneath as well. Don't necessarily just, bring the buttons down, because I do like the amount of space you have here. That all is good. I like that you've got a nice, just a good amount of padding around all these things. It's nice and airy. I think that's important because you are using some of those rich and saturated colors that we discussed. So space is going to be key to kind of like, create some, I guess, just some room there. Otherwise, everything's just going to feel very, very cramped. But I actually don't think you're too far away. Again, getting that logo over, potentially figuring out what's going to go in this hero banner, little space right there and there. And I think that gets you where you need to go. It's a really bold choice of color. And I think that this is definitely the color combo that I think is your strongest, for at least for a website. I like this color you have in the background, just personally. I don't think it's a great one though for to base a website on. Yeah, same thing I guess with this one here. I mean, I did very much like that color, like the color combo, but for a website, I think it definitely overwhelms the content. So that's my 2 cents on it. Cool. So I think you've got a pretty straightforward mission in terms of, or goals in terms of getting this page revised and using that then for the basis for your sub pages. Nice work on this.
All right, thank you.
Okay, let's see. Kathy, I'm going to go ahead and download yours real quick. Okay. All right, let's see how these look. Okay, I'm gonna actually here, I'm gonna open all of these just up in preview real quick, and that way I can kind of thumb through them. Kathy, are you leaning towards, oh, shoot, I would like to get them all open at once. Hang on just a moment. Are you leaning towards one in particular, Kathy, with these?
Not specifically. I do like the first one a little bit, but honestly, I just couldn't decide. I kind of liked them all. So
Okay, cool.
So I'm open for suggestions.
Awesome. All right, let's give these a look here. Let's see. So one thing I would recommend if you moved in this direction would be changing the background color here. Simply because I feel like we're training our audience to understand that when we see like this sort of, pastel orange on the buttons and on your call to actions, to me, those very much look like clickable objects. And this looks much more like a text blurb. So I think that when it comes to interactive elements, guys, within a website, we always want to try and create consistency. Because those are those things that our audience tends to look for as they scan through a website very quickly. And again, I think you do a nice job of using color to do that. But that would be a small thing. I need to pull from potentially the colors, one of the colors in this gradient to use the background.
Okay.
Let's see. Ooh, I like this color combo. This is very nice. Let's see. Yeah, between this and the first one, I will say, Kathy, I prefer this one. I feel like it's a much more cohesive color scheme. Yeah, let's see. Hang on, before I get going on that one, let's look at this. And this is very nice too. Yeah, I would say overall, this is my favorite. I think the color combination works really, really well. I mean, this is not a bad color combo either, but I will say that like this really saturated sort of red or yeah, I guess it's more of a red than a magenta. That in conjunction with like the yellow, geez, the white and the like the dark gray, it's a very aggressive color scheme. This one is not to say that it's like a super relaxed color scheme, but I just feel like it's a little bit more inviting. And this absolutely does what I was mentioning on the first one, in that it establishes a consistent look and feel with our interactive elements. I really only have a couple of very small suggestions for you on this. We want to make sure that the link text is all the same size. So looking at whatever the smallest one is, it looks like the font size you're using for biking adventures or water adventures. Let's whatever size that is, let's just change about us and contact us to those sizes.
Okay. I intentionally made about us and contact us bigger so that maybe those would be, something that they would click on, but yeah, I can change those to make sure they all match.
Okay. Cool. I would recommend, Kathy, if you ever do want to do that, like if you want to call more attention to something, consider, rather than making the text size bigger, consider making the background color different, because that will really call more attention to something than just having like larger text.
Okay.
So I would do that. I would say perhaps consider, I would love to see what it looks like with Peak Your Adventure larger. It works the way that it is, but I feel like inside of a banner that has the potential of becoming much, much larger now, that may conflict with your top area here. And if it does, no worries, just bring it right back down to where it is. But if that's not something that you've explored, I would at least give it a shot and see how that feels.
Okay.
Let's see, similar to the previous website, I would definitely recommend that the type not be allowed to extend beyond the width of the images above them.
Okay.
And maybe consider going a little bit smaller on the type size, just so we can maybe fit a few more words or like a extra, like, I don't know, word in per line. Because I feel like when this gets shrunk down, we're probably only gonna be able to fit like view the in this one line of type. So maybe going down like 2 pixel sizes on the type.
Okay.
Love the buttons here. Love the little text blurb. For the let's see here. For these 4 links, I would probably align them. We can do this on the web, but if you go through it once, I promise you'll never do it again. It's generally what I would say, because I'm not necessarily afraid of having you guys do extra work, but the amount of time and energy that would go into offsetting those like that, I think you will find is not worth the actual result. I feel like if you were to, I guess, try for next week aligning them in a little bit more of a traditional column way and see how you feel about it. If you feel strongly that you want to do this, cool, we can do it. But I think you'll find the amount of work versus how, I think you'll find that when you align these, that it'll look really good, and it won't necessarily, you won't necessarily look at it and go like, yeah, this looks like a much superior way of laying things out.
Okay, so if I did do them in a more traditional column, are you saying like just put 3 in a row, or do you mean like?
Gotcha. So yeah, I would say, I would say if you want to go 2 column like they are right now, just having those columns, like having this column, yeah, exactly, like being like left aligned here. We could go right aligned over here if you wanted to do something like that. That might look pretty cool, but otherwise left aligned and either left aligned and left line, or left aligned here and possibly right aligned over here.
Okay.
Final thing I will say is that if we want to change this type and make it different than the links above it, unless I'm mistaken here, I'm guessing this is not a link, right? This is just sort of copy.
No, correct.
Good. So basically what we want to do is, from a usability standpoint, we want to differentiate the fact that these are links and that this is not. And right now, with them all being the same size, same font, same color, same weight, there's nothing really there that delineates one as a link versus the others. It could just be as simple as underlining these, okay, or changing the color of them, or changing the
Okay.
color of this, but something small, just so that the user knows that one is. In fact, I mean, we were established already that this, these boxes and this color equal link. So it's possible that just making these 4 links that color with an underline under it is all you need to do.
Okay.
Um,
Sounds good.
Really small stuff here, Kathy. It's a wonderfully designed concept.
Thanks.
Let's see. Let's get on there. All right, Gurpreet, let's give you a look next. Let's see. All right, Gurpreet, are you do you prefer any of these over the others?
No, sir. No, because I'm confused. I just want to know which one you guys like. and how you want to-
Nope, I'm sorry, Gurpreet. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Let me turn up my speaker here. Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Actually, I'm confused which one is good for me. So can you give me advice like which one is better?
Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm still not quite. The connection's not great for the audio. There. I'm sorry. All right, I will give you my feedback on which I think is the strongest here. Let's see. Well, let's see here. I think the first one, I prefer for the first one in terms of the navigation over the others. Against a red background, these are difficult to read. This is a little bit easier to read, but even still, it's really tight kerning and just difficult on the eyes. I think this is the strongest. I also like that you've got just a more standardized logo for this.
Okay.
Let's see. I like that we start with a nice big image, but it does look like the image has been transformed and squashed. Like the castle looks short and stumpy. Mickey and Minnie look sort of short and stumpy. So I think you can get away with using this image, but let's not transform it. Let's let it stay at whatever its original size was, even if it comes down further, that's okay.
Okay.
Let's see. So with these like call to action images and text, I feel like the addition of a header on top of each of these paragraphs would definitely help. Something that kind of equates or to the image that we're seeing. So yeah, consider that strongly, having some header text that begins each of these. And maybe even consider, we may not have to have this much text, so like the first line of type could ultimately be a nice large header. Probably in like, this is looking like impact right here. I mean, maybe impact. Again, though, a lot of times, like I mentioned on Jennifer's, that does kind of feel like a meme, but it's something you can at least start with, and we can, give an idea of what that actually looks like. And are these images going to be clickable? Are these things that maybe we can click on to go to a subpage?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So maybe consider a text overlay or even a button that sits on top of these that maybe says, oh, I don't know, it could say click for more or something along those lines. The other thing that I like about this is with the links being different colors, that does set us up to perhaps start using some of those colors on the sub pages. Like if we go to the About Us page, we could use a splash of this sort of dark blue, or on the place to visit, we could have this sort of magenta as a splash color in there. We do want to get those links all aligned though. You can see how about us is lower, things to do is lower, contact us is lower as well. Actually, I do think some of these are smashed. Yeah, it looks like contact us and hotels have been transformed. So rather than transforming them and making them smaller that way, just use your type tool and make the size of them smaller, so that they don't get distorted. I even feel like the logo is distorted as well. So just a quick tip on that, Gurpreet. So like when you are working in Photoshop or Illustrator, and let's just say you have something that you're wanting to transform. Let me just change the color of this real quick. So if you have something that you want to transform, just bring the size up to one of the corners, and don't hold down the shift key. If you hold down the shift key, that allows us to either squash or stretch. And at that point, we start to just like distort the layer, whether it's the type or the image. So yeah, my best recommendation is just don't hold down shift. Just allow the transform to naturally become larger or smaller, and that will avoid distortion. Yeah, I would say let's use the first one. And again, keep in mind those things we talked about in terms of navigation, header on these, maybe a more button on these. And I would say maybe for a copyright statement, let's maybe use maybe a smaller font. This is large and heavy. It calls a lot of attention to itself. Okay. Good start. I think with some tweaks, we can strengthen this up and get it where it needs to be. All right, Chaz, let's give yours a look here. Cool. So I remember we talked about this last week that you had like some custom type that you wanted to use on the hero banner, and that's totally fine. We could absolutely turn that into part of the image. That'll
Actually, this font here that so it was really similar.
Yeah.
But these are all the fonts they're all Google fonts.
Okay.
So this is a Google font on all three of them, actually. So I was able to find fonts that were similar to the one I was using.
Oh, awesome. Good. So, I mean, I would suggest that we do that for the navigation. We actually make those Google fonts. I wouldn't do this as a Google font.
Right.
Because there's a number of things going on there. You've got like a double stroke and it's on an angle.
Right.
Very difficult things to do in CSS, and they're not going to show up consistently across browsers.
Gotcha.
So, but let's absolutely do it in the navigation. That'll look great. I love this. This is a I mean, it's full of mood and atmosphere. It's very in your face, but that's okay, right? I mean, like that. I think that's it's doing exactly what it should be doing, and that's creating some excitement. So let's see here. Yeah, so realistically, same thing with these, even though it's a Google font, let's just build that into the image. And then this just becomes one image that we just drop in. Same thing here. This will just become one image that gets dropped in. Same thing here as well. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this. I mean, we'll look at the other two. Do you have a preference at this point? Are you leaning more towards one?
I kind of like that color on that first one.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the font. The second one, I kind of just like switched out pictures and switched out the fonts and colors just for the project. But I think I was liking leaning more towards the first one. But then in the last one, I ended up finding that font, which I thought kind of looked cool too. So I was kind of in between that font and the first one.
Sure.
But I think I still like the color scheme best on the first one.
Yeah, I agree. This is not bad at all. Like the colors do work well with each other, but I feel like this one on the top, it hits all of the notes that it should in terms of I mean it's a very I mean it's red, white, and blue, right? I mean it's a classic color scheme. And this is an amusement park in Midwest America too. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But I just love the way that you are using, but you're breaking up that red, white, and blue with like this beautiful, like saturated yellow, but it works. I mean, you've got these bold colors that are popping on top of it. Yeah, I would go with this first one, Chaz.
Okay.
I don't know that I have a suggestion for you. I mean, a small thing, let's just make sure that this image, doesn't have that little sort of gap right there. Small thing.
Sure.
easy enough to fix. Maybe the copyright line just gets a little bit smaller so that it's not the same font, same size, same color as the phone number above it.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's about all I have for you, man. This looks really good. You're definitely ready to move on to your sub pages for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you.
So more time on look down here. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, this could have worked, could absolutely work, but I definitely like the like that top one. It's just got a little bit more pop. It also, I don't know, it feels just with the yellow, it also feels a little bit more warm and
Right.
you know, it just kind of feels more summery. So yeah. Nice work.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, Jillian, I'm gonna start here with number 1 and I'll work back up through number 3. Ooh, this is nice.
So I kind of like all three of them look nothing alike,
Okay.
but I took color schemes from pictures that were in there.
Oh, excellent.
So each of
Okay.
them has a different feel to it.
Okay, cool. Well, I will say right off the bat, I really like this color scheme. The soft sort of like lilac and the deeper purples, and then that beautiful like sort of yellow pop, those complementary colors. Very, very nice. Let me look through all 3 and we'll see if we can narrow it down to 1 in terms of suggestions here.
This one was based more off of the actual Korean flag. So they have red, blue. I just did a different shade of blue.
Sure. Yeah, this is very nice as well. Oh, okay. I mean, just off between the first 2, that's a tough choice right there. Okay, cool. This is actually really nice as well. I will say I prefer the previous 2 because I do feel like there's just a little bit more contrast, but I'm very happy that you tried a different approach with this, one that has a little bit less contrast.
Yeah.
But guys, let's see here. Between the second one and the first one, do you guys have a preference? I'll download both these. We'll open them up side by side. I think I might, Jalen, lean a little bit more towards number 1, but I will tell you that I honestly think you could go with 1 or 2
Okay.
and be in good shape. I couldn't necessarily give you a strong reason why 1 is like significantly better.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. That's one of those good problems that you have where, you know, either way that you go, you're going to be okay. But here, let's see. Let me open these up side by side.
I think I like the first one better too.
Yeah.
Like the colors. I think the photo on the second one is a little hard to see. I know it's supposed to be, but I think the other one makes more sense with all the signage.
Yeah.
With the
That's a
overlay.
good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I like the first one as well. It's
Yeah.
really nice.
Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, guys, for the feedback there, for sure. Yeah, I prefer the first one. So I have really only 2 suggestions for you in terms of things that can be tweaked, and these are very, very minor. Number 1, when we have text inside of a horizontal button, personally, I prefer when it tends to be all caps. And I will show you like an example of why it's easier for me to kind of talk about. Actually, I'll just use this text right here and let's just draw a box around it. Let's see here. Get to my layers palette. Okay. All right. So when we put something inside of a horizontal box, we have, you know, obviously we've got these long horizontal lines. Now, the bottom of type sits naturally on its baseline, and that creates a second sort of horizontal line. Capitalized type goes, you know, obviously then mirrors that with another horizontal line, versus when we have lowercase type, we now are setting our type on what's called the waistline, and that creates, more of a jagged type of a thing there versus, horizontal top button, horizontal clean line, bottom horizontal clean baseline, and then a horizontal clean line on the bottom of the button. So I just tend to think that looks a little bit more professional, specifically with sans serif type. So I would recommend that you make that tweak. The other thing that I think we want to talk about here is our navigation. It's not a total deal breaker when we have some links that are on one line and others that are on two lines, but in general, it's not something that you will see on professional websites. We either want all of our links to have two lines of type, or we want all of them to have one line. At least when we're, again, in a horizontal long sort of navigation. So let's see.
You think I should just cut, like, I know on historical and modern, I have sites and attractions. Should I just cut those last two words, like historical and modern?
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
just
Literally
repeat.
what I was going to suggest, because I remember that when we were talking about the proposal, that was one of the keys to this, is that you wanted to have an area for more historic attractions versus more modern ones. And that's, so I would say for this, go with historical and modern. Otherwise, if that was not an emphasis, I think just saying sites and attractions, although that might be a little bit misleading because I don't know necessarily what's the difference between I don't know that there's a glaring difference between site and attraction. So yes, I think that going with historical and modern as your words there, I think solves the issue.
Okay.
But this is it's a gorgeous layout here, really beautiful balance of colors. If there are further like color palettes that you want to explore, because I mean, don't get me wrong, this color palette could work for the entire thing. But if you find that it ends up being very monotonous, each of the sub pages could feature a different colored hero banner and have the whatever color you make the type in the hero banner mirror that same color down in this area, and that could spice things up a little bit for you, and just make it really clear that we're on like different different pages. So
Okay.
If I may, the buttons, maybe push them down a little bit so you can see the picture a little bit better too, especially on those top two. So I feel like
Yeah.
it's kind of covering the picture up.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even making the background color like semi-transparent, like a 50% transparency.
Okay.
So, a couple of things, actually, I'll throw out a couple of options here. So when it comes to making buttons semi-transparent, I mean, obviously one thing you can just do both in CSS as well as like in a program like Photoshop is that you can, like lower the opacity or something on that. Another technique that's done on the web quite often is having a border on the button. Like I'll just do it here in Photoshop with a stroke. I'm going to make that stroke the same color. And I'll show you why here in a moment. So we can then lower the opacity of the background, but leave the stroke at 100%. And the way that that's done, like in Photoshop, guys, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a difference between opacity and fill. Opacity lowers the overall opacity of a layer. If you do fill, it will lower the opacity of the layer, but it will not lower the opacity of the layer effects down here. So like in this case, I've got a stroke on here. And if I lower the opacity of the fill, it just lowers that fill and it will not affect any of the effects I put on there. Okay. So that's something you can try on that, Jalen, and see how that looks and how that feels for you. But yeah, otherwise just potentially moving it down, or it could even be, if you don't like any of those options, we could always put the buttons, perhaps, I was going to say maybe under these, but I actually do like them over those. So it could also be, could just be replacing the actual images as well, Now if you can find another image of like this location, because clearly like those blossoms on those trees work so well with the background color that you have here. I mean, I don't think it's a deal breaker in terms of having to eliminate those, but you can try starting with like lowering opacity and kind of see how that feels for you. Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Yep. Nice work.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see here. Jose, let's give yours a look next. There we go. Right. Jose, are you leaning towards maybe one more than the others at this point?
I am leaning for like maybe like a combination.
Okay.
I do like the third one
Okay.
and the first one for sure.
Okay. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Let's go up here with these. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, this is interesting because the more muted colors really help the images to pop very nicely. Let's see. I'm gonna download your first and your third one, and we'll open those up side by side, and again we'll compare and contrast here. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that there is probably a happy marriage that could happen between the first and the third one, where maybe we are kind of combining those to, you know, optimize the design.
Mhm.
Let's see. All right. Let's see here. All right. I mean, looking at this, I will say that I prefer. I definitely prefer the navigation and the footer on the number one over here. I think that blue is really impactful. Boy, oh boy, let's see. Another thing, okay, something I like over here though, I like that these do not, like the text boxes do not have a border. I feel like putting the border around these just ends up, it ends up feeling extra boxy.
Mhm.
Now let's see here, boy. On this one, I prefer that the hero banner extends out all the way to the edge, as well as this extends all the way to the edge. I would be curious what this hero banner with this image and even this color here looks like over here. Now, in doing that, I think we might have to then also make, we have to bring this color in somewhere else. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. What I'm kind of torn on, I guess let me vocalize the struggle that's going on in my head right now. On the one hand, I very much like the color scheme of everything that's happening here from the hero banner down. And I do like that. I think it has a very sort of old classic look, which I think for a city like London, that makes a lot of sense. At the same time, I very much like the blue and the white over here. It's clean, it's professional. Boy. I think ultimately, one thing I would love to see with this, Jose, would be this design right here. And the reason why I'm pointing to this one is because I was going to say maybe we just tweak some of the colors over here. The reason why I'm saying that is because I feel like the hero banner extending all the way out, I like better. I like the no boxes on this. Both footers are actually really nice. I think you could go either way, but I almost like the simplicity of this one. I would be curious to see what this one looks like. Oh, the difference would be I do prefer this navigation better without like the little like the flag, and it essentially extending from where it ends to the very top instead of sort of doubling up the color. So that would be one element that I would suggest that we do over here. But
Okay.
otherwise, I really like this layout the best. But I'd be curious what this would look like if we started to bring some of that blue into it. Maybe just a splash of blue is all it needs. But in the end,
Okay.
it needs more. And it ended up just using this color scheme or on a white background with the blue. I think that would certainly work because it works here very well. Okay. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on this. Again, very nice. But
Thank you.
I feel like if you're going to make the tweak, there's less tweaks that would need to be made to this one. So this one I would just do a save as on and start to implement the, some of those tweaks.
Yeah, I'll add some splotches of blue in there. I'll see what I can do.
Cool. Yeah, and I definitely I love like the nice super large type in this area as well. The font is perfect. The arrangement is perfect. Very nice.
Thank you.
In the process of doing that, if you do feel that one of these pictures needs an extra bit of blue, pulling this photo right here perhaps on over, that might be the only other thing that maybe you have to do.
Okay.
All right. Very nice, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Let's see. Blow this up a little bit. All right, Jacob, let's give this a look here next. Okay, let's see here. Jacob, are you leaning towards one, over the others at this point?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So I am leaning towards the very top one,
Okay.
the cream and blue,
Mhm.
or the black and white.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. I will say this creaminess, sort of like dark blue, is really nice. Okay, so I think, let's see. I think the biggest thing that I would recommend that you work on at this point, Jacob, would be strengthening the typographical hierarchy. So right now, all of your type is the same font, and it's all the same color. The only thing that's really differentiating the logo from the navigation from the body copy is just simply size. In general, we want to establish a really strong hierarchy. It helps if we have 2 or more of the elements that I just mentioned. Okay. I don't have a blackboard in here. So I'm just gonna, since I have Photoshop open, I'm just gonna type a couple of quick things here to reiterate just some of the principles of typographical hierarchy. So a change of size, a change of weight, a change of color, a change of typeface or font. Those are all things, I mean, there are others as well, but these are the most common, especially in the world of web, that we would use to establish a stronger hierarchy. So sometimes we can get away with just changing one of these things. So coming back to your design here, one of the things right off the bat that I would recommend, I would go much larger with the name of the company there. In fact, I mean, when I say much larger, I would at least double it in size. That will immediately create a strong separation between it and the type underneath it, being the links. Now,
Yeah, I was going to separate the navigation and the logo on the page itself, on the web page, a lot more than it is right now. That's
okay.
kind of a little bit crowded for space, so they got pushed against each other a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Cool. And yeah, it's a-okay if we go longer with this. Don't feel like it has to be a certain height. Okay.
Yeah.
act here. Let's try something real quick. One of the other things that we can do. Curious how this will look. Let me just try something real quick. That was what this one here. Oh no. Oh shoot, that's grayscale. Let's see. Why that happened. Try this one more time. Yeah, let's get that mode back to color. Okay. So, another thing that we can potentially try. Now, I don't have the layers, so I'm just going to kind of do this quick and dirty. But hang on, let's see. Yeah, obviously this would be a little bit easier if I had the layers, but I think that actually that black that I just made this is way too strong. So bear with me here. Let's kind of lighten that up a little bit. Even just simply having the navigation and the logo inside of a background color, I think that alone starts to establish it and start to establish a hierarchy where now there's a little bit more of a clear separation between these elements and the rest. I do still think I'm gonna just kind of hack through this again without layers. I kind of have to do it like this, but bear with me. I do feel like some things that we can. Let's see. There we go. So right off the bat, I think that this starts to establish a stronger hierarchy. I mean, we could probably even more formally bookend this, perhaps. I'm not gonna be able to match that exactly with the way I'm doing this, but and it doesn't necessarily have to have that background color. It could actually just be, let me undo that. It could actually just be that we add like a horizontal rule. Again, I'm just going to kind of do it kind of quick and dirty here. It could even just be with sort of a horizontal bar there. I feel like instead of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, let's actually get the social media icons in there. For any of you guys that are ever looking for those and maybe have never used them before, just do a quick Google search for social icons, and you will find hundreds of downloadable vector sets that you can use. They'll range from circles to squares, rounded rectangles, and all that. I would say go with the flat ones though, Jacob, rather than like the colorful ones.
Yeah.
Because I think I do like the minimal color scheme. I think that's very cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I looked at the website that they have, and I was trying to imitate the style of their website and the
Cool.
cookbook that I have.
Let's give that site a look here real quick. Cool. Yeah, nice and clean and minimal. Let's see here. And then obviously as you start to get into sub pages, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, nice and clean and simple. Yeah, I would say push yourself to kind of meet a happy medium with this. Being that their actual site is super, super minimal, I would probably add a little bit more than what they did, because otherwise we were very much sort of just mirroring the existing thing. So, whether it happens with a color bar, maybe it happens with some additional images. I really am a big fan on anything where food is the emphasis, of having nice, big, large pictures. I like that you've got that here, perhaps on your sub pages, instead of smaller thumbnails, nice big images.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, cool. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.
Let's see. Let's see, that bot, I think that's Nick, I believe. Actually, I can probably look at that. Yeah. Okay. All right, good old Bartlett. Let's see here. Nick, how about yourself? Are you leaning towards one design over the others? Let's see, Nick may not be with us here. Let's see. So Nick, looking at these, a few things, I actually like the type best in this last one. I just feel like it's got a nice sort of classic feel, especially against the white background. I think that this text by far is my favorite against the white background. I would strongly recommend a background color in the navigation. In fact, here, Nick, I'm just gonna bring this into Photoshop. Let's see, I believe it was this one. Let's see. Yeah. Again, that sort of classic black and white, this will work really well if we just invert that. Now, again, without your layers, I'm just going to kind of hack this. So obviously this is not the optimal way of doing it, but I do feel like something like that for the navigation really establishes a strong sort of like anchor point here at the top. I actually really feel like the white sign for Bartlett there works pretty well. And you may have to just kind of like, again, I'm kind of hacking this and doing it in not the optimal way, but I do feel like something like that works out pretty darn well. The other thing I would recommend is perhaps under these blurbs, maybe having, like some, let me just make a layer for this real quick. And those are all over the place, bear with me. Not too much happening here. All right, so I feel like some buttons could work here. Now they could be black, or they could be a dark gray. We've got some options there as well. So I would put something in these buttons that's relevant to like, whatever we're seeing here. So I know Bartlett, I drive through Bartlett every day to go to work, but I have really never been to Bartlett and walked around like the city proper. So I'm just going to go ahead and type here like, I don't know, click for more, but I'm not a big fan of that phrase because it doesn't really mean much. Really probably should have something that's relevant to that location. Probably also not in this font. But for what I'm doing right now, this is probably fine. Now, again, there's the possibility of, if you want to, you can go black with these. Again, it tends to work out pretty well with this sort of classic black and white design. But if we were to extrapolate those out into these other areas, Nick, I feel like that just kind of formalizes a little bit more. Maybe these actually come down just a little bit as well. And then lastly, I would definitely cap this off then with a black footer. But yeah, something along those lines. Now, again, if you feel like the black is too strong down there, you know, we can always go with like a darker gray. You know, or it could even be a lighter gray. You know, actually, I kind of like the lighter gray. Yep, lost that. Give me the time. Yeah, I feel like actually when it was the dark black, it was almost too strong down there. But I think that it's really boils down to colors more than anything else. You know, it's that swap of color on the top, the gray on the bottom, adding those buttons. The foundation is definitely there, Nick, and it shouldn't take you all that long to implement those changes that that I just implemented here. So hope that helps. Let's see. We're getting there, guys. We're actually flying through this at a good rate. Bella, let's look at yours here next. Bella, are you leaning towards maybe one over the others at this point? Let's see. There's some nice options here. Let's see, is my audio messed up? Or I'm trying to get.
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, Bella, do you have a preference at this point, or are you kind of open? Oh, that's not what I want to do.
I don't know if she's here.
Okay. Gotcha. Let's see here. I mean, there's some nice elements that are happening in each of these. I feel like the biggest critical comment that I can give you right now, Bella, is that the banners could probably use some more pop. Right now, the yellow background, for me at least, really pops forward a lot and becomes the focal point. I feel like if we were to take some of that yellow and perhaps put it into the Vincent and Voyage type, that would really act as a very strong, powerful header and create a focal point for us. Because I very much like what you're doing in terms of the headers and the background images. So here we definitely have a stronger header in terms of, you know, comparing this to the last one. This I feel like is the stronger of the two. This is actually quite strong as well. I would actually like to see this one without the sunflower background. Just as an option. I mean, here, you know what we can do? I can certainly kind of check that out on my own here real quick. I think that was this one, right? Let's see. Nope. Okay, it's number 3. I guess I question whether or not it's needed. I mean, it's a nice element, but it might be just having a single sunflower in the design somewhere might be enough. We may not necessarily have to have the whole background. Okay. Let's try this again here. Bear with me. Okay. And don't get me wrong, it's totally possible that these add a really nice element to it. But I'm just curious if we really need them or not. I mean, I don't mind it with them, but the issue that we're going to run into with this that we're not really necessarily seeing right now is when we put this into a wrapper, these will inevitably only sort of show like this. If we were to extend them beyond the wrapper, that's going to start to create some technical issues where we're going to want to get the header and the footer to extend all the way to the edges of the browser as well. And being that we have a background image in there, that becomes tricky. It's not impossible. It just becomes tricky. It's much easier if we have a solid color back there. Responsive background images can be inconsistent between browsers. So simply doing this eliminates the need to deal with a good number of technical issues that will arise. Yeah, I think overall, Bella, I prefer this design. I really like, I love the pop of that nice warm yellow, how that creates a focal point at the very top of our page. The white links sit beautifully on there. It's a nice playful, serif based font. For next week, Bella, we definitely want to see the actual elements you want to have here in the link area. But I really like that footer as well. You're off to a really nice start with this. Oh. All right, guys, I am going to bounce back over here real quick and let's get this zoom back to regular size and we'll see if any were submitted here while we are critiquing. Yeah, let's see here. Catherine, it looks like you got yours in. I don't think we looked at those. Let's give those a look real quick. Yeah, let's see. Catherine, are you leaning towards one perhaps over another?
No, not really.
Okay. Let's see here. Nice color schemes. Let's see here. I mean, the color schemes work out so well that it's possible that, like I mentioned earlier, with one of the websites we're looking at, it's possible that maybe you end up using like blue as background on one of the pages, this sort of like muted red on another one of the pages, possibly. But if you were to pick one that goes across the entire site, I would probably recommend this in terms, I really like that cream color. I like that cream color being mirrored around the top image here. I will say that I do prefer the links when the bar extends all the way. Maybe it doesn't actually extend all the way. I'm gonna look at that. Yeah, it actually does not. I would say consider for your links there, maybe allowing a semi-transparent bar to extend all the way to the edge of the wrapper, perhaps. I would probably also not separate the links like this, just because we don't have an even number of links on each side. Inevitably, it's going to feel off. So potentially the links could just go above or below the navigation, but I'm sorry, below the logo, but I wouldn't have them share in the same space. Just again, because of the way that sort of awkwardly breaks up and splits an odd number of links. Let's see. I don't necessarily know that I can give you much more feedback in terms of it, because it's kind of hard to visualize and that we're not seeing the actual, it's still kind of lorem ipsum and just kind of floating here. I mean, one thing that I would, I guess, suggest is maybe instead of circles or rectangles, being that the logo is sort of based out of this oval, it might be nice if we saw oval cutouts of images within these. But I'd like to see more clearly how this type is going to be addressed for next week. Is there going to be a header on this that kind of tells us, like, what these categories are? How much body copy will there be? The body copy can definitely be lorem ipsum. Let's think about whether or not we want a clickable button or not. Or maybe, maybe the header actually lays across the image. I'm not sure. That's something I think we want to figure out. I think the beginnings of all of these feel developed, but I feel like the bottom, half are feeling a little bit underdeveloped at this point. I do feel like you probably want a footer on here as well. And again, it could probably be, this exact color we're seeing up here, and a footer. Again, it could have copyright information, could have contact information, something along those lines. Could even be, for any of you guys that are having an issue figuring out what to put in your footers, you can always cite your image sources in the footers as well. That's an option for you. No, man, that food looks good. Oh man, yeah, crawfish. It looks like crawfish. Actually, I guess it's gumbo, but oh boy. Yeah, I think that's my 2 cents. I think you've got a solid foundation to start with here, Catherine, but I would definitely implement those things that I talked about. Now, the ovals doesn't necessarily have to be a thing that has to happen, but I would at least explore it, because I do think that that shape just sort of is a nice thing that could be repeated elsewhere. Okay, so do consider that.
Sounds good.
Let's see here. Any other new ones that might have been submitted? No. Okay. All right, cool. Well, guys, we have a decent chunk of class time left. We can use this as work time. So, because I know some of you had fairly minimal changes that were suggested. So what we can do with our time, because I don't have anything else planned for you guys, but I have no problem hanging out until what is it, 2:45, I believe we say so. I have no problem hanging out until 2:45 in case any of you guys make revisions that you'd like to show. We can either have those just resubmitted back to the Google Drive, or I can set you up to share your screen. You can show them that way. Not saying you have to complete that work during this time. If you prefer working on your own time, that's absolutely cool. But yeah, we've got probably more time than we've had at the end of any of our classes. So I think this is a good opportunity for you guys to work and be able to get some, real-time feedback on things. What we'll do here, I guess for those who don't want to hang out and work, just one more time, I'll reiterate what I'm looking for from you guys for next week. So for next week, you're going to pick one of your homepage concepts and you're going to revise it based on the feedback that you got today. In addition, you're going to design the rest of your subpages. And again, that's just in Photoshop or Illustrator, no coding at this point. That sounds like a lot. And I will tell you that putting together your first page might take a bit of time. But in general, if you just do save as's on that, you don't have to completely start each page from scratch. You'll be able to recycle some of those elements. And I think you'll find it'll take you, you'll be able to do all of your subpages in the same time that it takes maybe for you to do your very first subpage. It's not as daunting of a task as it might sound. I mean, I would still start early. I'm not saying like wait till last minute, but it's not necessarily going to take you as long as perhaps it sounds like. And again, those will just be submitted as PDF files. Let's see. Any questions on what's due for next week? Okay, cool. And as always, if you guys have any questions or clarifications, you can always reach out to me. All right, why don't we're going to use the remaining, what do we have, 25 minutes or so here, just as work time. Again, if you prefer working on your own, it's okay if you end up leaving the meeting, not a big deal. Yeah, just total work time for you guys. If you need anything from me, I will be here. Just let me know, turn on your audio, let me know. I'm happy to look at stuff, happy to give you guys additional feedback. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, I'm actually going to step away from my computer for about 20 seconds just to get a glass of water. I will be right back.
I'm going to step away for a couple of minutes as well, but I'll be back because I have a
Okay.
question in a little bit. Thanks.
While you guys are working, just so that my moving around is not distracting, I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself, but again, as questions pop up, I will unmute.
I have a question.
Sure, what's up?
Okay, so I'm made the changes, but I realized that when I go to change the size of the type underneath the picture,
Mhm.
that I already changed it to whatever that is where it, in order for you to see it in
Oh, you created outlines. Right, right?
yeah, I did. Now, how can I undo that?
You can't. So, okay, couple of things about that. So I will give you, we'll talk about how to move forward, but I'll give you a suggestion for the future as well. So there's no way to uncreate outlines. So you would have to just retype it.
Okay.
But I will give you a quick suggestion that will help not only in this class, but really every class. So I'm an illustrator right now, and I'm just going to make some quick type in here, just a few text boxes, let's say. So let's say you've got a project going and, inevitably, let's say you've got some type in it. Here we got 3, very generic type boxes. My suggestion to you guys, before you create outlines in a Illustrator project for any class or for any client, would be always take a moment before you create those outlines and select all of your type and copy that type, okay? Now, what I would then recommend that you do is, here, let's get my interface so you can see things here. My next suggestion is making a new layer and to paste that type. Now, here's the thing about pasting in Illustrator. You probably have realized this already if you've worked in this program for any amount of time. Whenever you paste, it will off shift. So if I'll paste so you can see it. See how it always pastes in like the wrong spot? So when you paste, and we want to make sure we're on the new layer. So I'm going to lock my old layer, maybe even turn it off. And on my new layer, I'm going to go to edit and paste in place. That will put it in the same spot. Okay, so if I turn on the old layer, you can actually see it's overlapped on there. So on the new layer with the type, you can call it whatever you'd like. Like I can actually just call this whatever. I'll call it live type. That's usually the term for type that is real. It's live. You can edit it, and we can just turn that off. And that way, you've got it still, because inevitably in a class or professionally, your client or your teacher is going to have suggestions on things that could change, or maybe not even initially, but you can bet that at some point while developing a website for a client, they're going to have some changes in type. And that way you can have access to it. So you can turn this on if you need to, and you can still get in there and you can actually, change the type, but you can go back to the original layer where the outlines were created and they'd be able to see that. And obviously I didn't create outlines from this. I'll just select that stuff and then go ahead and create those outlines. There we go. So now that's actually shapes. So always take a moment and just, it only takes a minute or two to select that type, copy and paste it onto sort of a backup layer for yourself.
Yeah,
And then go ahead and create the outlines. But, for now, you'll just have to delete the old type that's that you created the outlines from and just
Yes.
type it with live type.
okay, okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. That's the kind of lesson, like we all learn that as graphic designers, like you get to that point, you're like, oh, well, shoot, I created those outlines. Like, what do I do now? So
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
no problem.
I was away from my computer for a minute. What were we supposed to work on?
So Jacob, what we're doing right now is just open work time for you guys to revise your concepts. So we've got not quite 20 minutes left, but a lot of you guys, it was just, some fairly small things that needed to be tweaked. So I'm just hanging out here in case you make any adjustments and you would like to, have me take a look at it before we wrap up.
Okay, I'm not able to work on my project right now.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I did mention to folks, if you prefer working either on another computer or not right now, it's all good. You can exit the meeting and no problem at all.
Okay, thank you. See you next week.
Yep, absolutely.
Bye.
So I made some suggestions
Mhm.
to the third one. I added the blue.
Cool. Hang on one second. Let me get I don't know why I can't see you guys this week. Let me pull that up real quick. There we go. This is weird. I don't know. I'm not seeing my typical grid. Let's see. Jose, was that you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought it was just me,
Yeah, I'm not
that
sure.
I couldn't see you.
Yeah, well, looking at this, I can definitely see that it's for some reason it's got my video muted, which is weird. It always asks me when I normally start. Although I will say, when I started this time, the one thing that was different was I had to wait like an extra minute because it updated my Zoom. So I don't know if that process of waiting for an update did something. We'll see about it next week. But yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, Jose, would you like to show that to me? You want me to set you up to share your screen?
Yeah, that's probably the fastest.
Cool. Let's see here. I think this is probably just making you a host, I think, is what will allow you to share your screen. Let's see.
I think there it is.
Ooh, look at that. Yeah.
So yeah, that one. This is the original color from the first one, and this one's just like the revised. I just cut it in half just to see
Yeah.
comparison.
Well, I like that a lot, Jose. So I was curious how those colors would jive. I think it looks great because now we've got that sort of classic, sort of cream color and then that nice tan, but then the rest of it has that strong blue. I'll be honest with you, that worked out better than I had even hoped for. I like that a lot. Yeah, that looks
Yeah,
fantastic.
that looks really good, Jose.
Thank you. So that's just the thing is just switch everything to the original blue. Because it's a stronger blue then.
Good question.
I do that.
Let me do that. I would actually, I don't know. I kind of like
Okay.
that more muted blue, to be honest with you. Yeah, I would undo that. Yeah, exactly. I would stay with that slightly duller blue.
Okay.
If I could give a little critique on it, the only thing, it's just minimal too. If I would give a little bit more room in between the text and photos,
Yeah.
because it's pretty close to it. And then once you do that, maybe even that whole section out with the margins on both sides. So that's like centered perfectly in the middle of the page.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you
Just
mean.
a small critique, so but I think it looks really good.
Yeah, thanks, Shaz.
No, for sure.
I agree with that. I do feel like the space in between those could be bigger. So Jose, just go ahead and make your canvas bigger. If you go to image, so you're in Photoshop, you're going to go to image and then go to canvas size. And in the grid that's going to pop open and your anchor, click on the top middle arrow. Yep, there you go. That's going to lock the top of your screen. So now when you increase your height, your canvas is going to get bigger from the bottom. Okay. So click that.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So click on that top upper arrow. There you go. And now make the height. I would say maybe make your height like, I don't know, like maybe 2450. So no, do not. Let's get rid of the
Nope.
zero. Yep.
Sorry.
No worries. Otherwise, you're gonna have a crazy huge canvas.
Yep.
All right, go ahead and click OK, and you'll notice then that it expands from the bottom. So I would just
Oh,
take the footer elements, bring them all the way down to the bottom, and then you can start to space out then the space in between your stuff and more evenly distribute that. And then even if you need to bring the footer back up, if it feels like it's too far away, then you can always just crop the image and make it a little bit smaller. But yeah.
okay.
Can I just add something?
Sure.
Yeah.
What about if you put the buttons on the left, because there's color, and then the photos on the right, it's color, maybe, I don't know.
Which the
The buttons, to the travel hotels, the travel fun, maybe left align them.
Possible. Yeah, it's worth a look. I mean, that's an easy enough thing to try.
So anyways,
yeah, I can definitely give that a try. Although I will do a little later because they're flipped on there. But for sure.
Yeah, no worries, Jose. No worries. Fantastic edit on this though. That's exactly what it needed. It looks good. So once you've got your spacing taken care of, you can always explore those buttons left line, but you're definitely ready at that point to move on to your sub pages. Really nice work.
Thank you.
Cool. Then Jose, I'll need you then to make me the host then. So let's see, I think you can just click, if you roll over me and then go to my little three dots in the top right corner of my thumbnail, you should be able to, or let's see, let's see, maybe not.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Cool. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
hello.
Hello, what's up, Jen?
I kind of like that green. I mean, I really like Jose's color scheme, but do you think that green would work for me? I didn't do it yet. And I also really liked how she had those images in a circle, which I seem to always do boxes or rectangles.
Mhm.
I was thinking maybe the entertainment and the dining to like do circles, maybe.
I would absolutely try it because it wouldn't take very long to change the shape of the cutout. You could give it a look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what? I just got a call saying I have to go pick up my daughter. My husband can't get her from school.
Okay.
So, sorry, but I'm gonna go. Thank
Oh, no
you.
worries, Jen. It's the class ends in 10 minutes anyway, so it's all good.
Yeah, they
as
keep
always.
blowing up my phone.
Yeah, no worries. Go do what you gotta do. I get it.
Okay, thanks. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And
You-
thanks for the feedback, Chaz. I
No
have to
problem.
get out of
No
here.
problem.
Can you kick me off, Peter? I'm still new to Zoom.
Yeah, let's see. I will.
Beat it, Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
There we go.
If only I knew how to get out.
All right, Jen, you're about to get the boot.
Okay, bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, I uploaded my corrections and just wanted to see if you could look at them. I put them in the Google Drive box. This is Kathy.
Yeah, absolutely, Kathy. Let me see here. Let me get my screen shared again with you guys, and I will pull that up. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. Good. The links.
So I made the Peak Your Adventure larger.
Yep. Yeah, I do prefer that.
Okay,
Small thing, Kathy,
Um,
I do think the font for About Us looks different than the others. The other
okay, I'll check that.
dense. Not something you have to like take care of right this moment.
Yeah,
Let's see here. Do you consider making the cannoning button wider just so that, or
Okay.
maybe bringing the font size? You know, here's what I would suggest. Whatever the font size of skiing is, do that size for hiking and for canyoning.
okay. I need to check those too. Okay.
And yeah, you know, what, I do, this works pretty well. I think the way that footer sits.
Yes, I'll make sure that it's more even than it is right there, but
Cool. Yeah, I think the only thing that's off, I think, is just map location is not actually centered. And honestly, if you just bump that over and get it a little bit close, not worrying about getting it perfect in Photoshop or Illustrator, because when we code this and we set it to
Right.
centered, it'll do that for you.
okay.
It looks great, Kathy. I think that, you know, again, other than like the About Us, you know, that's a small thing to think about for next week. And the size of the type for hiking and canyoning. I mean, it'll take you all of just about a couple, 2-3 seconds to make those fixes. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely ready to move forward to your sub pages at this point.
Okay, so when you professionally do it, do you ever have the boxes different sizes? According to the the length of your word?
Um, it depends. So if I have radically different words, I will just make sure that the padding on the left and the right is consistent.
Right.
And then let the word sort of dictate the overall width. But I will usually begin by trying to make the type all the same size and just
Mhm.
leaving the boxes the same. But sometimes if there's really long words and then all of the other words end up being like, you know, really small and kind of awkward, I'll adjust from there. But yeah, if
Okay.
you do have different size boxes, the way to kind of smooth that out is just make sure that the left and right padding, and in fact, the right, top and bottom padding then too, is all consistent. That's,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
No problem. Awesome job.
Thanks.
Okay, well, guys, it looks like we hit the 2:45 mark. I'm gonna go ahead and stop our meeting just so that I can get the video published and uploaded to YouTube. As always, usually takes me about an hour to get the download of the video and then the upload back to YouTube. But you know, if you guys have anything, any questions or anything over the week, as always, please reach out to me. Really looking forward to seeing how these sub pages come together. The work that you guys submitted today looked fantastic. So we should be in really good shape for these websites for your finals. So yeah, guys, have a fantastic week, and I will see you all back here next Wednesday.
All right, have a good week.
You as well.
Thank you.